The Broncos are back at work today, and so is the DNVR Broncos podcast. Well, at least Henry and I were back at work. Ryan, what's his saying? He says, if you're not working, you're twerking. Ryan must be twerking. Off twerking somewhere, but not us. Henry and I, grinders. We see the draft is 10 days away. We got to be here. But maybe we're talking about something before the draft, Henry. And let's dive into everything that's going on. But first, got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that promo code DNVR over at DraftKings Sportsbook to get some bonus bets. And do I have a good bonus bet for you guys, which we'll get into later in this show. But Henry, how about them Nuggets, baby?
Oh, they're so good. They're so good. They're incredible.
Yep.
That was, I don't know. I lost my voice in like the second quarter.
Yeah, because you were there.
Oh, yeah. I know. It's so hard because those tickets are so cheap. But I don't want to spend too much money going to the early games because they've got like a month and a half at least of basketball to go.
It's true.
So it's like, oh, you can get decent seats for like $50 to go again. How could I turn that down?
Time. Yeah, it's so tough, especially when you get to see a beatdown like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, I mean, this is just what the Nuggets needed. Not to go too much into Nuggets talk, but it was just like the Avs last year. Avs kind of definitely took their foot off the gas at the playoffs last year. Then what do? They just come out and put an ass beating down in that first game, and that's exactly what the Nuggets did. So, what?
You were worried.
I was. Now they eased my concerns just in one game with that type of beat down. Henry, the Nuggets, #1 seed for the first time in their franchise's history. When's the next time the Broncos are the 1 seed?
Well, geez.
Will Russell Wilson be their quarterback the next time that? Wow.
I mean, what you got to take first? You got to take first at 16 teams. And like you got 5 tries, like the easy answer there is no.
Okay.
Like if you're trying to make the bet, you're getting 8-1, 10-1.
Man, you're not even getting just the mathematical odds of 1-3.
No, I mean you've got Josh Allen, you've got Mahomes. I specifically said it in that order, just so you know.
You're learning, Henry. You're learning.
You got Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just teams that you know are going to be good, and the Broncos are a team that could be good. Like, there's a chance.
Yeah.
And that just gets you in the conversation with those other teams.
Okay, yep. Shouldn't have started the week off with that question because you're probably right, just using common sense there. But how many times has Sean Payton been the #1 overall seed? Obviously, different conference, different everything. But
multiple.
He's probably done it a couple of times, right?
You would think.
Yeah. So is Sean Payton the head coach the next time the Broncos are the #1 seed?
Ooh.
Sean Payton's contract only as long as Russell Wilson's right now.
Exactly. It's not going to be in this contract.
Yeah, it's true.
If I were betting, you never know. But in the next 10 years, I think that's probably a good goal.
Okay. Man, Sean Payton, if he's making $20 million a year and is here for 10 years, he's going to have get almost $250 million from the Walton Penner Group. How about that?
That's a crazy amount of money.
That is insane. Will Budda Baker be a part of the next Denver Broncos team that is the #1 seed?
That's another easy answer. Probably not. Easy money's on probably not.
Yeah. Easy money on the probably not. And let's dive into Budda Baker because Budda has requested a trade out of Arizona. And Henry, there are so many reasons why we should absolutely be talking about this with the Denver Broncos because Budda Baker's not just a great player that's out there. George Paton has said he's going to be involved in every single deal that's out there. So, one, he should be involved in this. He told us he's going to be involved in this, so we need to talk about it. But then, two, there's so many other connections and reasons why Budda Baker makes sense in Denver. So when I throw this out here, just don't think about what you're going to have to trade, how much you're going to have to pay him. Should the Broncos pursue Budda Baker?
You've got to call. Like, you have to call. I mean, there's no reason not to see what the price would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
It is the answer there is an all-pro player. First team all-pro 2 times, and then a 4-time straight Pro Bowler. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler, is on the market. Absolutely, you got to be interested in him.
Yeah, and especially with Vance Joseph. I think that's what makes it worth talking about is the fact that Vance Joseph is coming over from the Cardinals, where he coached Budda Baker Not all those Pro Bowls. There would have been one before him, right?
There was one. He made the Pro Bowl in 2017, and I believe a big reason why he made that Pro Bowl was because of his play on special teams. So not even like a full defensive Pro Bowl from my understanding there. 2018, he doesn't make a Pro Bowl. Then what happens in 2019? Vance Joseph takes over the Cardinals defense, and Vance Joseph was the Cardinals defensive coordinator for 4 years. What did Budda Baker do in those 4 years?
A lot of Pro Bowls.
4 straight Pro Bowls. So every year Budda and Vance were together. Budda made a Pro Bowl, and then 2 All-Pros, first team All-Pros as well. The Broncos have a damn good safety in town, and Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons doesn't have 5 Pro Bowls. Justin Simmons doesn't have 4 straight Pro Bowls. Justin Simmons doesn't have 2 first-team All-Pros. That's not to put Justin Simmons down. Justin Simmons is a damn good player, maybe a Hall of Fame player, but Budda in these last 4 years been more productive, and he's also in a place. I guess award-wise, he's been more productive. He's also in a place where they probably have been getting even less love from national recognition than the Broncos. Broncos really haven't got that much, but Arizona, he's been buried even further. And so that's just another huge reason why, Henry, is one of the things that our PHNX Cardinals reporters tell us about Vance Joseph is he's good. He can be good, but watch out with versatile players. He doesn't really know how to use versatile players properly. Massive asterisk next to that. Except for Budda Baker. He clearly knows how to get the most out of Budda Baker. So you bring Vance Joseph in, you got a guy that can just be a Pro Bowler right away. Yeah, you absolutely explore that.
And he seems like he'd fit well next to Justin Simmons.
Oh, yes, he does. That's another fit.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of just an upgraded Kareem Jackson. That's kind of what you're looking at. You know, it's a downhill style player. He's going to All Pros for his work in the run game. Going to Pro Bowls, getting All Pros, that's what separates him. In coverage, I'm sure he's good. I didn't watch a lot of Budda Baker. The highlights are all him going downhill
this weekend.
Yeah, I should have watched the Cardinals more this season. I screwed up.
Said no one ever, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the numbers, though, in coverage, not ideal.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think, he gave up 109.3 passer rating when targeted this year. Gave up a few touchdowns, had a pick, had 3 pass breakups. But you're not getting Justin Simmons on the back end.
Right.
You're getting prime Kareem Jackson, maybe even better than prime Kareem Jackson.
Yeah,
but an upgrade in the run game. And that's why, like you said, the Pro Bowl is a special teamer. It's those same tools.
Right.
He's just a missile.
Yep. He's absolutely a missile and someone that complements Justin so well. You have Justin back there getting the interceptions.
Exactly.
Justin, kind of a down year in terms of his tackling abilities this past year. You upgrade that safety room so much in terms of tackling by bringing in a Budda Baker. Budda can be in the slot for you if you need at times. He can definitely be at the line of scrimmage. Certainly he can play some linebacker for you. Obviously that strong safety, he brings the strong in that. What a great pairing. And then you're not just pairing him with Justin Simmons. You're pairing him with Pat Surtain, Damari Mathis. But, you would have 3 Pro Bowlers, 3 potential All-Pros out of 4 people in your secondary. How does that not at least get you excited? Now, we're going to talk about in the other segment just about if it's worth it, because that's a different conversation. But in terms of, would this be good? Are you kidding me? It would be incredible.
It would be incredible for so many reasons. He's also, a leader.
That's another thing.
He's not just a really good football player. He then becomes alongside Justin Simmons probably, and maybe even in some ways kind of like a good cop, bad cop type of deal. We talk a little bit about the Aqib Talib energy. Yeah. Budda Baker isn't there, but it's along those lines in some ways. Yeah. So you bring in the leadership skills. You upgrade that secondary to all of a sudden. That is the best secondary in the NFL. There isn't much conversation about it.
Yep.
You have Caden Stearns as your third safety, and that means that he's on the field if you want him to be. If you were really trying to, you can get him on the field 2/3 of the time. Yep. More likely, it's about 1/3 of the time. And for Caden, that's a good role, and he probably outperforms it. But you're looking for guys to outperform the playing time they're given. That's what good teams do.
Yep.
So I just think if those are your 3 safeties that you're working with, it would be sick. Yep. It would be so sick.
Yeah, it would be. And a luxury, Yeah, definitely. It would be a luxury. You just have to determine if that luxury is worth it. And like you said, you get a dog, you get such a good leader. Sometimes when a person comes up because they're requesting a trade, you wonder, like, what's this guy going to be like? Well, he doesn't want to be there for, I believe this is going to be his 4th new head coach in like the past 5 or 6 years since he's been drafted. So he doesn't want to be there for a rebuild. Arizona certainly seems like a full-on rebuild. They're not even going to have their quarterback this year. So I'm not worried about character issues there.
No.
Henry, he's 27 years old. Justin Simmons is about to turn 30, and I feel like Justin still has a lot in the tank. You're not trading for like a 1-year guy here where you have to be worried about the future. Budda Baker could be on your team and be playing at a high level for an entirety of another 5-year contract still. So he's not just a stopgap guy. He's someone that can be here for the long term.
Yep. And again, just all of a sudden you have versatility.
Yeah.
Because right now, like, Caden Stearns is versatile. Like, you can play him in the slot if you want to. He played a lot as like the sub linebacker. And Justin Simmons, I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably play him in the slot too. We haven't seen it in a long time, but like there is a little versatility. But you need players to play those positions, so you can't let them be versatile players.
Right.
That's where now all of a sudden you have Budda Baker. Where's Budda going to go on any given play? Where's Caden Stearns going to go on any given play? You know, you get the chance to take Josie Jewell or Alex Singleton off the field if you're looking for more coverability at the second level. You know, if you're playing the Chiefs, for example, that might be a good idea. So it just, the number of options that you would have on defense would be crazy. And then if Randy Gregory stays healthy and does what he did last year when he was healthy, and maybe you get one more step out of Baron Browning, that pass defense could be incredible.
Yep, absolutely. It 100% could be. And so the question should be, is it worth it? Is this something worth splurging on? Is this a luxury that the Broncos should go after? And let's dive into that, because not only picks into consideration, maybe it's a rare player-for-player trade, Henry. And let's talk about some of those players that would get that done. But first, I got to tell you about Breckenridge Brewery, the beer for this time of year. The beer because nothing's better than a Breck while watching the Colorado Rockies outside in the 70-degree sunshine like it is today. But nothing's better to have on hand when you're watching the Denver Nuggets absolutely dominate the Minnesota Timberwolves last night, and like they're going to do this series, watching the Avs roll their way through to another Stanley Cup appearance. And of course, you can do that with those specific beers. You can roll with us with the Broncos Country Ale. You can get the Avalanche Amber Ale. You can get the Denver Nuggets beer they've got. You can get it all over at Breckenridge Brewery. If you want to find out where to get Breckenridge Brewery, go to breckbrew.com. At the top of the screen, there's a beer locator. Click on that, and it's going to show you everywhere you can get this delicious Colorado beer.
And maybe you should drink that beer while you play some sports.
Great combo.
What do you think the best Volo league is for drinking beer? I mean, bowling has to be number one.
Ooh, yeah, you're probably right on that. By the way, bowling league starting up tonight.
Oh, wow.
Yep, we got a DNVR team out there.
Wow. It is tonight, isn't it? Wow.
Yep. Monday night bowling league.
Cornhole.
Cornhole. You also have softball. Yep. Beer in hand kickball. That's exactly
beer in
the
hand
one I was thinking
of.
Where if you spill the drink, it's like a penalty.
That's a good one. Mini golf. There's a lot of setting it down.
It's true. Or you just putt with one hand.
Wow. Beer in hand mini golf.
Yeah.
There you go. That could be a sport too.
What sport couldn't you do beer in hand?
I feel like
baseball would be tough, man. Impossible, actually.
I mean, basketball, impossible.
Basketball would be impossible.
Also, that is one where I just wouldn't be interested in the beer until after.
That's true. All the sloshing up, some people are throwing up.
Some people. Yep, some people. Yep.
That wasn't a shot at you, but you kind of thought it was a shot at you. I mean,
it's true. I wouldn't be able to drink and run. Speaking of which, wow, this is off topic, but it's a thing I've forgotten. At some point this summer, I have to run a beer mile for losing my fantasy league again.
Oh, and do you have to do it in a certain time?
I don't.
You just have to do it.
Oh, I can't remember our specific rules. There might be a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those who don't know, the beer mile, you drink a beer and then run a lap and then drink a beer and run a lap. And there's 4 laps for a mile.
Yeah.
And
you drink an entire beer at each of those stops too.
Yeah. So then the crazy thing is, the way it works is, so first year, loser doesn't have to do it yet, but then after the second year, both losers have to race each other. That's what it is. I remember it's not a time thing. So there's a race, and the loser goes against the loser the next year.
Oh,
so you could just get trapped if you're terrible at it. So the predicament that I'm in is that I'm a back-to-back loser.
Oh, Henry.
So they don't know what to do.
Oh, so you're going against yourself.
Well, yeah. So I think I might have to just go run one for no reason. So that might be a time.
Honestly, they should make you do 2.
You
should have to do it like back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, I probably should.
Ruin both of your Saturdays.
I'm just terrible at fantasy football.
Yeah.
I lost fantasy basketball too.
Maybe you'll find your new sport though. Maybe it's the beer mile. Sounds like you're going to get a lot of practice in.
Yeah, I mean, oh God. Yeah, Volo though, if you want fun sport that isn't running, well, I guess it could be running with beer if that's what you want to do. They've got leagues in Lodo, Rhino, Uptown, City Park, Highlands, Arvada, Aurora, everywhere. And they actually, I think the reason that they do the whole thing is just to fund the foundation where they pay for kids to play sports for free. So it's
Really
like
cool.
a good cause
Yeah.
also. Volo's an awesome company. And you can also get in on the monthly membership program. So then you have unlimited access to sports and events and social activities. That's like unlimited pickup games and drop-ins and tournaments and all that. It's $20 a month or $200 for a year. There's also a beta version, $10 a month for 3 months, which is interesting. But get your Volo Pass, start playing in leagues today. Make sure to use the code DNVR10 for $10 off at www.volosports.com/Denver. So that's VOLO sports.com/Denver.
You're talking about deals, Henry.
Oh, yeah.
Can the Broncos get a deal for Budda Baker? What are we looking at here? Thankfully for the Broncos or any team trying to acquire Budda Baker, he's made it public that he wants a trade. That's going to hurt any player's stock when they go out there. He's getting paid $14 million this year, $15 million next year, but he told the Cardinals earlier this offseason he wants a new deal to become the NFL's highest paid safety.
As he should.
That's also going to hurt the Cardinals when trying to trade him. Whenever you're re-signing or whenever you trade for a guy and then have to pay him big money, typically hurts what the team trading him is able to get back in return. So I think there's, when you look at Budda Baker, a four-time straight Pro Bowler. In the past 4 years, he's been a first-team All-Pro twice. 27 years old. I mean, that's a first-round pick right there. But I think these other things make it so it's not a first-round pick.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So 2 years left on the deal. The new team will pay him a little over $13.5 per year.
Okay.
That's a steal.
Yep.
That's a steal. But that would be number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's 11th in the league. So it's a steal, but it's not like it's a crazy value. You'd imagine that he's going to wind up with probably about 20 a year.
Man, what's the highest paid safety right now? Who is it?
Derwin James. He's got
man,
4 years, $76.5 million.
It's a 19 a year. So yeah,
Little
Budda
over.
wants 20.
It's probably about 20. And
13.5 sounds good compared to that.
oh yeah. Now, it could be a shorter deal. You would think, just because he still has 2 seasons left. So if you give him a 3-year contract, you have him locked up for 5 years.
That's true.
Which is age 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, maybe into age 32, depending on his birthday.
And you feel pretty good about that if you're the Broncos, where you're not having to pay him through like age 35 or something.
Exactly. So if you say that's 3 years at 20,
Yeah.
that's, you add 60 to the 27.3, so then you wind up paying him 17.46 a year.
Okay.
So, which would be,
If you would accept that.
3 years, $20 million. You can't ask for more than that with 2 years left on your contract.
You could.
You could. He'd be crazy not to take it.
What would that make him right now in terms of average annual value? Like third or fourth?
Fourth. It'd be fourth when you factor in the 2 years left on this deal.
And with Walton Penners, you're giving him as much money up front as he wants.
Yeah, you probably are. So, that is a good value because you're locking up a great safety for 5 years and currently paying him the fourth. And by the time that deal's done, he's probably what? 12th? 13th?
Right, exactly.
Maybe 14th?
Kind of where he is now.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a plus value. It's not like a contract dump. It's not going to be one of those. You wouldn't think where it's like, oh, they only had to give up a fourth for him.
Right.
You're probably giving up like a second round pick.
Second, and Another reason why we're talking about this is a national reporter has linked one team to Budda Baker. One team, Henry, and it's the Denver Broncos. And it was Albert Breer this morning in his Monday morning quarterback column. He said, so if I'm, say, the Broncos with Vance Joseph there, and I have a young receiver to spare for a team that might need one post DeAndre Hopkins, what would I think about it? Or would I think about it? I sure would. Talking about the Broncos' perspective of this, he also went in there to say, Budda probably going for a 2 or 3. So he kind of agrees with you with that value. Broncos don't have the second-round pick this year to trade. Broncos don't have a second-round pick next year to trade. Broncos do have a first-round pick next year. If it comes down to that, if they want a first-rounder for Budda Baker, it just doesn't make sense to trade a first and then go spend $20 million, $17.5 million a year on him. So I'm saying no there. But if you can do a third, one of the 2/3 this year, I'm doing it. Now, if they say a third and a player, what players could be involved here? Albert Breer specifically mentions a wide receiver.
Which would make sense.
He didn't say what wide receiver. So in this scenario, I don't think the Broncos would be interested in trading a third and Jerry Jeudy for Budda Baker. What about a third and Cortland Sutton for Budda Baker?
I don't know if you need to give the third.
Wow.
Like, it would be less at least, you would think. Like, again, we don't know what the value is.
What if they want a second and you say, okay, instead of a second, let's go with third and Court?
That'd be like a 4th-round value on Court, late 4th probably. Which I guess is kind of fair. Yeah. It might even be into the 5th, though. I mean, that would be to get toward the top of the second. Because, again, like, you got to move up 6 picks from the Broncos' 3rd-round pick to call it a second rounder, you know? So, it'd be fun. Like, if this was offered to me in a video game, I'd take it. And why not run the team like a video game? Like, it's not that bad of an idea the way teams can push salary cap around.
Henry, it's kind of how Sean Payton ran the Saints like a video game. There's a lot of people that say, oh, you can't do this stuff with the cap. You can't do that stuff. That's all video game stuff. The cap is real. Sean Payton said F that time and time again when he was with the Saints. And we're going to have a conversation later the week about are the Broncos going to trade up, trade down. Sean Payton's been extremely aggressive when getting players, when getting certain picks. So this is something where I also think it makes sense in Sean Payton's philosophy to go get a player. Also, Broncos were in on CJGJ to an extent this offseason. What is he? He's a safety that can play all over the field. Budda, exact same thing. True. So it kind of does make sense to tie those. I think if it's a third and Cortland Sutton, I think that might be ideal. And the reason is you free up money from moving on from Court too. You're going to have to pay Budda a lot of money, whether it's this year or not. If you do that, Henry, you may not even have to restructure any deals by doing that. Now, you do hurt your offense, which I don't love, but it just does not seem like the Broncos are 100% committed to this receiver room. They kind of want to shake up anyways. If you can get that shake up, free up money to then go get Budda, and you don't have to change anything with the future of this team, boy, that's huge.
The tough part is that you then need to find a receiver. Like, you'd need to go out and find somebody who can be a starting receiver for you, and that's tough to do.
So you'd have Jerry Jeudy.
Yep.
You would have
Tim Patrick.
And Marquez Callaway.
You can't have Marquez Callaway as a number 3. He's not ready.
I think he views him as a number 3. He had 700 yards. If you're getting 700 yards from your number 3, then you feel good about that.
You definitely do. But he also had 150 last year.
Also, I
played
think
14 games.
But that wasn't with Sean Payton.
It's true.
The last year with Sean Payton, he was the leading receiver. Now, it wasn't great numbers from a leading receiver, 700 yards. But if he's doing that as your number 3, and remember, Sean Payton on offense thinks he can get the most out of players. He thinks he can turn undrafted guys into productive guys. He thinks he can get mid-round guys to be great players. So he believes in himself there. I don't think Sean Payton, I think that's a reason why the receivers were being in trade talks so much is I don't think Sean Payton says I need the 3rd highest paid receiver room in the league. I don't need a 1st and a 2nd round pick at wide receiver.
I just can't get behind downgrading the passing game in particular.
And that's
after
fair.
Last season.
And that's totally fair.
And that's just such a massive hit to go from Cortland Sutton to Marquez Callaway.
So you wouldn't do that. You would say no for a 3rd and Cortland for Budda.
I still think I'd do it, but you need to find another receiver. And you're just a little bit late in that process. And I guess there weren't too many on the market. And
Broncos were in on a few.
Exactly. And so that's why I don't know how exactly you solve that problem. And I almost wonder if the Cardinals would be just as happy with Caden Stearns with 2 years of control.
Caden Stearns and
instead of Court.
Just straight up?
Maybe you have to throw in like a fifth.
So a third, a fifth, third, fourth, and Caden Stearns. Man, George Payton would be furious at that. He'd say, I only have 1/3 and a fifth and a sixth. I have 3 draft picks now?
Yeah.
That's a Sean Payton move, though.
It would kind of make sense for it to be Stearns. I mean, they get their replacement. And he's a young player who kind of fits their timeline, and he's looked good when he's on the field. They definitely get him at a discount because of the injuries. That could come back to bite them for taking an injured player, but yeah, I mean, receiver makes sense because they're trying to get rid of Hopkins, but so would Caden Stearns.
What about Jerry Jeudy for Budda Baker straight up?
Nah, I can't do it.
That would probably be too much of a hit to the offense. And as much as I think you do have to draw the line somewhere. And like I said, Jerry Jeudy's value, the Broncos' value, is a first-round pick. The Cardinals aren't getting a first-round pick, so I do think that the Broncos would be losing that deal if they did that. So that's why I say no. You've mentioned Caden Stearns a couple of times. Caden Stearns, good player. The Broncos believe in him. He's been extremely efficient when he plays. And they, I think, trust him enough.
Yep.
If you have the opportunity to go get Budda Baker, that's not like you're not shaming and disrespecting Caden Stearns, in my opinion.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Especially because there's plenty of room for him to be on the field also. Mm-hmm. Like he'll still get plenty of playing time, assuming he doesn't get passed by like PJ Locke, but
right.
I don't think that's going to happen. Because as it stands now, safety's probably one of their bigger needs when you look at the draft. I mean,
yeah,
at the draft in particular.
Yeah.
Because I guess you could go get Kareem and that would balance things out. And I bet that is what winds up happening is they get Kareem at the start of training camp or halfway through training camp to come back and he gets to take the offseason off. But, I mean, you're not going to get – you have to expect every player to miss 2 or 3 games.
Right.
And if Caden Stearns is missing 2 or 3 games and Justin Simmons is missing 2 or 3 games, well, then all of a sudden you're looking at 4 to 6 games where you have PJ Locke as a starter. And could you get by? Like, yeah, you could probably get by, but that would be a much weaker link. Like, I don't know. If you want to win a lot of football games, you look at the Chiefs roster. How many holes do they have? Not a lot of holes.
Right.
Like, you have just kind of have good players across the board. Like, who's their defensive end? Oh, it's Frank Clark. It's like, is he a great player? No, but he's good.
Right.
And he's not, Baron Browning, who you don't really know what you're going to get. And so you just have a question mark at safety about what you're getting from that position. There isn't much depth. I don't know. Budda Baker, all of a sudden, that just takes a starter and makes him a backup. Obviously, it gives you more depth.
Yeah, it does give you depth. Or, if the Cardinals, if you can sell them on Caden Stearns and he's part of the package, that would make a lot of sense as well.
True.
What about Justin Simmons for Budda Baker?
Nope.
No?
No.
Why not?
First of all, like, it's one of those things where if it's not broken, don't fix it. Like would the Nuggets trade Jokic for Giannis? Would the Bucks trade Giannis for Jokic? Like, you would think one of those two things has to happen, right? Because one would be better than the other. But everything's just built in a particular way. Like, I think both teams potentially could be downgrading by making that trade. And I do think that Justin Simmons is the better player. I think that a lot of what Budda Baker does really helps you in the running game, which is awesome. And he's a really good player, and he's good in pass coverage as well. But, I mean, we've talked about before, strong safeties don't get the money free safeties make.
Right.
And
it's CJGJ.
Exactly. And Budda Baker, he plays both. He's versatile. He goes all over the place. Justin Simmons could do that, but there's no reason to take him out from that center field when he can take so much of the field away. And you look at the turnovers, all that stuff. I wouldn't consider it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
But if they're wanting a player in return, that's one that the Broncos could potentially do. And also, when you look at Justin Simmons and Budda Baker, you'd by far have the highest paid safety room in the NFL with those two. Could also save $10 million if you were to trade Justin Simmons. Now, I don't want to go too far down this road because I do not think that the Broncos would be doing this. And one of the reasons you would be doing it is how well Justin Simmons and Budda Baker fit together.
Yeah.
But these are some of the players and names that could be potentially thrown out there in a deal like this. And also the difference in what you said about trading Embiid for Jokic or something is assume that that player's coach is also coming over to Denver. Like if it's broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it. With Vance Joseph, you know that he knows how to work with Budda Baker. Obviously, Vance has also worked with Justin Simmons. I can't imagine Vance has any bad things to say about Justin Simmons as a player, as a person. But he's had tons of success with Budda Baker, and the Broncos did go and get his guy, Zach Allen, in free agency. I have to imagine that Vance Joseph being here does make it just more realistic that they go out and truly get Budda Baker. I'm putting this at 25% that it happens.
Wow. So I guess you got to start with, like, what's the percentage that they trade him? I'll say it's like 66.
Okay.
Say 2-1 that they trade him.
Boy, okay. I guess I was thinking more like 90%.
Okay.
But so maybe I do have to lower my odds then.
Okay. So then you go from there to like, I think the Broncos would be the favorite. And the reason they wouldn't be is just because they've committed so much money and they don't have much for draft picks. Buying more seems like it would be kind of unlikely. But there's also the fact that they keep going out and buying and buying and buying.
Right.
And there's no reason to think that they're just going to stop now. Like, why couldn't they fit one more guy in?
Yeah.
So I think it'd be fair for them to be at least like top 3 in the odds. So if there's 66, I'll say there's 13% chance.
13%.
13.
And that's going to be the highest from any team. You're giving them
there's
the
probably
best
like
odds.
There's probably like two other teams maybe at 13
that are right around there.
Yeah, it's probably like some ties.
And that's why it's worth talking about. It's because the Broncos could legitimately make this thing happen. And just on top of it, with Sean Payton in town, you talk about buying and spending and making powerful moves. That's something he's going to do. Yep. As he's clearly shown, he's not going to sit back and kind of let this thing play out for a year or two and then take his stand. He's doing it right now. And no better way than to get 4-time consecutive All-Pro or Pro Bowler who's also an All-Pro as well. But if they don't get Budda Baker, is Budda Baker 2.0 in the draft? Let's talk about him after I tell you about our friends over at FOCO. You guys know the deal with FOCO. All this cool gear we've got on set in front of me, behind us, so much of it is from FOCO. Whether you want to get some neon signs, whether you want to get some bobbleheads, whether you want to get some swag that you wear, hats. I mean, they have like very traditional clothes, you know, some button down and stuff. But they also have like blanket ponchos, and they've got it all. Whether you're looking for Nuggets, Rockies, Avs, Buffs, Broncos, they've got it all. So check them out over at FOCO. Use that code DNVR at FOCO to get 10% off your order. So check them out. Click on FOCO to get the coolest apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more.
And also head on over to Shady Rays. We love Shady Rays here. We wear them a lot. I actually forgot mine. I grabbed them when I was leaving, but then I set them on the counter and then had to like go grab something else. I can't remember what it was. And then like forgot them. And I thought about it the whole way over. I was like, wouldn't this be nice? Because it's tough to explain. Because I wouldn't say like just driving when it's bright out hurts my eyes. Like that would be a stretch. But just more pleasant when it's not so bright. You can dim things down.
Yep,
like there is a difference. One where like if it's sunny, at this point I just think like, this kind of sucks. It's really nice to be able to turn that down. And Shady Rays in particular is the best. I don't need to pitch people on sunglasses. I always forget that.
Yeah, that's very true.
People already know they like them.
Yeah.
But
everyone
Shady
already
Rays
has a pair or needs a pair.
I know. Well, I didn't, and that's why I've realized like, you guys were doing it right. But yeah, so Shady Rays, independent sunglasses company. It's a world-class product. They're just as good as any expensive pair that we've worn or whoever else has worn.
It's true.
They've got durable frames. They've got extremely clear optics, especially if you're like an outdoorsy type of person. And they offer protection. So every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. So if you lose or if you break a pair, even on the first day, they'll send you a brand new pair with no questions asked. Shady Rays, they're awesome. And if you use the code DNVR, you can get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try them for yourself. They're rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And there's a link right there.
There you go. Link right there. Before we talk about a safety in the draft and if the Broncos should select him, I got to ask you, who says no if this trade is put up? Jerry Jeudy and Caden Stearns for DeAndre Hopkins and Budda Baker.
Broncos.
The Broncos say no.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is going to go for like a 6th, 7th.
Wow.
Like, that's why he's not gone. Like, he's a salary dump at this point.
But you get an upgrade from Jerry Jeudy there.
Probably.
Like, you're right. And I think value-wise, Jerry's the most, in terms of what a team could get draft pick-wise, Jerry is the most valuable. Caden Stearns probably the least valuable of these.
Yep.
You don't think that DeAndre Hopkins and Budda Baker could combine to be Jerry's value?
I mean, I think DeAndre Hopkins is better than the league does, I guess. So I think that if you could trade for DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, go do it. He's sick. At the same time, though, played 9 games last year, 700 yards. Played 10 games the year before, 572 yards. Like, Jerry has outproduced him in back-to-back seasons.
That's kind of wild.
So that is worth factoring in, and then you got the age, and then you got to pay more. And
Yep.
So I think it's I definitely don't think the Cardinals say no. Unless they might still be in this, 3-week phase. They're like, no, we don't have to trade Budda Baker. When push comes to shove, they would take that in a heartbeat.
Wow. Yeah, here, can we set that up as a poll? Which team would say no? Jerry Jeudy plus Caden Stearns for DeAndre Hopkins and Budda Baker. That's a fun one, and I'm just surprised how quickly you shot it down. But if the Broncos aren't able to land Budda Baker, is there the next Budda Baker in the draft right now, Henry?
So today we are talking about Antonio Johnson, the safety from Texas A&M. What do we have for size? I think 6'2", 198 was the combine size.
Yep.
4.52 in the 40-yard dash, 8 bench press reps. You know, there's plenty of reasons to be excited about him. Obviously, going to Texas A&M, you've got to be a pretty highly ranked recruit to do that.
He's a 4-star recruit.
4-star, yep. And he was very effective at Texas A&M. So you like the production. What you don't really love is that you don't know what position he plays. They bounce him around. Like, you could play him in the slot against some big slot corners or against slot receivers. You could probably play him at strong safety. But he doesn't have great ball skills, which is kind of weird. He was a receiver in high school. But doesn't get his hands on many balls. He's not a very fluid athlete. Doesn't turn well. And so, you think of Chris Harris all jittery in the slot. Antonio Johnson's not jittery. But if a tight end is flexed out there, he might be a good answer there. And so if you see him as a tight end cover guy and believe in the length that could make him worth starting as a full-time safety, then you could justify the pick.
Yeah, exactly. And when I look at Antonio Johnson, Henry, who I see is K'Wan Williams, just all over, because Antonio Johnson, while listed as a safety and kind of profiles as a safety, he played a lot of slot corner at Texas A&M, specifically early on, and he was good. And where he excels, really, it's funny being a safety. You think a safety is the last line of defense, so always, very far from the line of scrimmage. He actually excels close to the line of scrimmage, and that's where he really does his best work because he's good in the running game. He's fine in the pass game, especially if it's closer to the line of scrimmage. So if you're dealing with a tight end that doesn't have much vertical speed, he's good there. In the slot, guys that aren't just going to burn past him, he's good there, good in the run game as well. And why I say he really reminds me of K'Wan Williams. K'Wan Williams is just a playmaker. He is just all over the field, always around the ball. And that's what Antonio Johnson is not in the air, though. Like, it's not like he's getting tons of interceptions.
Yep.
No, he's getting forced fumbles. He's getting sacks. He's getting tackles for a loss. And because of that, he was like an all-SEC player.
Yep.
Because of just his playmaking ability around the line of scrimmage, behind the line of scrimmage. And that's what K'Wan Williams is. Despite being like a slot corner, you don't think of those guys as being great in terms of run game, getting after guys around the line of scrimmage. And that's what Antonio Johnson is good at. So you'd be drafting kind of a specific niche player, and you kind of already have K1 this year. So if you viewed K1 as so valuable, then maybe you use a pick to find his replacement. But to me, if you just view him more as a K1 instead of, your full-time safety, and just don't really think he profiles as a great full-time every down safety, because he does have some issues in coverage, specifically downfield.
Yep. And in college football, the slot job is just so much different.
Yeah.
Like, so many teams are playing, they call it like the 4-2-5, but then they have the star or whatever they want to call the slot guy, who's like a hybrid linebacker, safety, corner, and then just does everything. I mean, a lot like K'Wan Williams in some ways. And that's what Antonio Johnson does. But it also feels like a lot of those guys don't translate well to the NFL. Because again, like, he does a really good job making plays in the backfield. He'll take on blockers and get to the running back, that sort of stuff. He's also a little under 200 pounds. So is he actually going to be able to do that in the NFL?
Right.
I don't know. Now, you also have the length that you like, and he likes to hit. And again, very, very productive player. There's bust potential there. There's potential for him just to not really fit a job in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because if he was, there's just so many of those guys. Like Isaiah Simmons was the same thing. It's like he's found a role. Like he's an NFL player, but you would think with his traits there would be a better job for him than there is in the NFL. That position just doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And K1, he's a great player, and I think he was a fantastic pickup for the Broncos. He's making like $2 million.
Yep.
So the equivalent of $2 million in draft picks is not a third-round pick. That's like a 6th, 7th-round pick. So I think that safety could make sense drafting in the 3rd round with the right guy. Just don't know if he is the right guy, although he profiles to be a good complement to Justin Simmons. I just think he's way too much of he has to be close to the line of scrimmage to be how good he really is. So I don't think it would be the most sense, especially with the 3rd-round pick.
Yeah, like when you sub packages, there would be situations at the same time. So you go nickel, though. Do you want him covering their slot receiver? And you go around like the AFC West, for example. I guess Juju's gone from Kansas City, so we don't really know who their slot receiver is.
Is it Sky Moore now? Is he an outside guy?
Maybe. Like, that could be Sky Moore. Again, do you like that matchup? If you do, it's only because you really think Sky Moore is bad, which is fair. But if Sky Moore is even decent, you don't like that matchup at all.
Yeah, if you think he can get around him, then
exactly,
it's probably tough.
Like, then you have Hunter Renfrow. Nope, that's not going to work.
Yep.
And then you have Keenan Allen. So again, then you look to like, okay, the dime packages. It's like, yeah, dime linebacker, he's got it because he's on a tight end, he's on a running back, whatever.
Right.
Is that worth a 3rd-round pick? Probably not.
Right.
Unless you think he really can be productive in another way.
And also on top of this, the Broncos do have Caden Stearns. And unless you're bringing in an All-Pro, Pro Bowl safety, then maybe it is time to let Caden have that shine. And Caden kind of profiles, I think he's a better cover guy than Antonio Johnson, but he is more of the bigger type of safety. So to me, just doesn't fully make sense unless you're upgrading the position drastically. Caden Stearns, you should get him his time. And I believe that's what the Broncos want to do.
Definitely. Caden Stearns is just kind of upgrade Antonio Johnson. Now, like we said, if Caden Stearns was your 3rd safety, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Because, again, this is the exact role that we were talking about for him. Is it worth drafting somebody to take that role? How much of an upgrade is he over PJ Locke?
Yeah.
K1 Williams still probably have him in the depth chart anyway, so you're not getting the nickel snaps. It probably isn't a good fit. Again, unless they really think he is Budda Baker and can play downhill that well.
And if anyone knows if he can be Budda Baker or close to him, Probably Vance Joseph. So probably a good guy on your staff to have scout through that. We're going to be following, of course, the draft stuff 10 days away. Broncos don't have a pick until 11 days from now. Henry and I, and he's yawning because he had to get up an hour earlier today because we had our draft meeting. We're prepping that, so stay tuned to everything that we've got coming. We've got a really fun, awesome plan specifically on the podcast, specifically on the live feed. So stay tuned. And when you're staying tuned with us, hit us with a like. It really helps us out here, especially right now. We're kind of in the dry period. We need all the help we can get. So if you wouldn't mind hitting us with a thumbs up, as Miles the mascot is saying on our screen, it really helps us. And 5-star review on podcast, subscribe as well. Really helps us. Thank you all so much. Also got to give a shout out to DraftKings.
Yes.
I told you about bonus bets. They're going to give you $150 in bonus bets if you use the promo code DNVR and place a $5 money line bet on any NBA team to win their next game in the NBA playoffs. They're going to hit you with $150. The bets show up there right away. You can use them right away. And what a better way to start your account off than with $150 in bonus bets, which then you can use to build up your account. So check them out over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up in order to get this offer. And, of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. I should make you or Ryan do that one next time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's probably fair.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But what's not tough is handing out our DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week. This week, Henry, I was talking about bonus bets.
Yep.
DraftKings gave me a bonus bet this weekend, and bonus bet, it's like you're kind of giving a freebie.
Exactly.
Like, well, do I want to turn $10 into $9? Nah, might as well take a little gamble.
Yep.
The Nuggets dominated.
They did.
The Timberwolves dominated, and all my concerns are gone, completely gone after last night. The other team that dominated this weekend was the Boston Celtics. Really the only two teams that really dominated their games. Celtics also heavy favorite to win the East. Nuggets now getting closer to being a favorite to win the West.
Yep.
So I'm taking those two teams.
Okay.
I also, of course, like the Avs to win the West. So I'm taking the Avs to win the West. And then might as well kind of buy into a fun storyline. The two Denver teams and the two Boston teams.
Yes, I'm in on
it. And the Boston Bruins might be the best team of all of these teams.
Yeah.
That had just had the best regular season of all time, right?
Yep.
So you take them to win the East. The two Boston teams to win the East. The two Denver teams to win the West. None of them are far odds. The Nuggets are the furthest odds, and they're the number one seed in the West. You put those together, Henry, you get like plus 11,000. So that's going to turn a $10 bet or a $10 bonus bet into over $1,000. So you don't have to do anything crazy, like crazy money with this, but those odds are just insane, and it's kind of a fun storyline to pull for.
I took that on February 24th.
Oh my goodness, what'd you get?
Plus 16,000.
Oh,
I kind of thought after 11,000 would be a little bigger, but they've all been good for so long.
Yeah.
I had a good betting weekend. This is the best time of year to be betting because now you got the NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. You're not supposed to say NHL playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs going as well as the basketball.
Yep.
It's insane. And I had like a good weekend, but it was almost just an insane weekend.
Oof.
But
what'd you miss out on?
So, for example, I had one parlay that was 9-1. Clippers won. I took them when they were down.
Nice.
The comeback, all that. And I had that parlayed with the Nuggets money line and Jokic to have 45 points, rebounds, and assists.
Did he just get that?
He didn't get it.
Oh, he
so it didn't hit.
Yeah.
Because I think he needed like 18 more at halftime. So he got like 65% in the first half.
Yep.
Played like 7 minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
Same thing with the other. The other one was 16-1. I had the Heat, Jimmy Butler to score 25, 5 assists from Jimmy Butler. Nuggets win, then 23 points from Joker. He had 13 at halftime, 16. So it was almost just incredible. But turned out to just be a good day.
So what's your DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the week to make it a great day or week?
Just take the Avs minus 195.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of lame. You could take the minus 120 60-minute line. At this point, I just want winners.
Right.
I don't care about... I don't want them to win in overtime. I'm sitting there like, oh, this sucks.
Which
was a thing last night.
Yeah.
Where I was saying that, I was like, Jokic isn't going to get this. And it's like early in the third quarter, it's like, well... I'm going to give myself 45 seconds to grieve, and then it's back to fun.
I mean, I took the over with the Nuggets last night, and just the Timberwolves were absolute garbage.
They scored 80 points.
That's insane. That's the... that's like the fewest points they've scored in like 6 seasons or something.
I believe it. Nobody scores 80 points in the NBA.
It's so true. So check them out over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Use that promo code DNVR. All right, Henry, we've got some comments to get to over on the website, and we also do have super chats. Let's hit the super chats really quick. We got one from B Had Moon. Says, if you had to make a blockbuster player-to-player trade, what position are you looking at, and who is the dream get? Best to you guys from South Carolina Bronco. Ooh. Well, thank you for the super chat. We love hearing from you. Player trade.
So you're kind of just looking for a change more than anything. So, like, for example, this wouldn't be mine, but, like, you could trade Greg Dulcich for a more established tight end without the upside. You know, it'd have to be kind of something like that.
Right.
Maybe.
Obviously, the position you think of is quarterback, but...
Yeah. I
right
can't
now,
pitch anything.
You're not getting anything.
It's like Cortland Sutton, you trade him for speed.
Ooh, I mean, this is probably the one that the Broncos want the most. It's just a little shakeup in the receiver room. And obviously, ideally, you want to keep Jerry.
Yep.
Man, Cortland for who?
I don't know. I wonder. I'm just going to pull up.
Probably someone with the day 3 value in terms of the picks.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay, just looking at the yards from last year. Oh, this website's so freaking slow.
Looking around web. Yep.
There we go.
Are you on Pro Football Reference?
No, I'm on NFL.com. I made a mistake. So right in front of Sutton was Gabe Davis. You're not getting him. Right behind him was Zay Jones. I'm not tempted. Right behind him is Cooper Kupp. I don't think that would work.
Right.
Jacoby Myers is right behind him. No. George Pickens, you're not getting him. No. Alan Lazard. Tried that. Behind him is Josh Palmer. Attainable. But now we've gone like 6 guys worse, and there's no point in making that trade.
What about like Edge?
Ooh. Would you trade Baron Browning or Randy Gregory?
Man, I don't know. I don't know. Like, do you...
like Baron Browning, I don't think you could get like a Yannick Ngakoue type player. Obviously, he's a free agent.
Right. Honestly, I mean, in terms of big names, the one that would be the most sense is the one we've already talked about today. Budda for Justin.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, like, they're both elite players, and I guess you can make an argument for both sides, except Stephen Sholey totally disagrees. He says, Simmons is better overall. Pro Bowls are a farce anymore. No way you do Simmons for Baker. I agree with one of those points. Pro Bowls are a farce.
Well, especially at safety. Yeah. Because you get 2 strong safeties, one free safety.
But all pros aren't a farce.
They are not.
Justin Simmons has 2 all-pros.
Yep.
Both second-team All-Pros, I believe. Budda, 2 first-team All-Pros. So I agree with you about Pro Bowls, but I think that what the first team or the All-Pros tell you is they're both elite players. Now,
I wouldn't do it.
I just don't think it's... Do you think it's no way you do that? Because I do disagree with the wording that he had. I definitely think there's a way. I'm not saying that you should do it. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's that strong. Like, no way you do that.
The only justification is the age.
I was going to say, you do get someone 2 or 3 years younger.
Exactly. That would be the one way you could kind of justify it. I think if you were to build an NFL team, you'd say, yeah, I want Budda Baker. He's younger. If you were to say, which one of you guys do you want for 1 year? It's Justin.
Well, are you building a team for 1 year right now with the Broncos? I think you're building it more so for the future.
Yeah, but I mean, then you also have to factor in $20 million a year starting a couple years, which is only a little more than Justin will probably be making at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but Justin's cap hit this year, I think, is like 17 mil.
Yep.
You save $10 million if you were to trade him right now, $7 million in cap it. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the reason for bringing Budda in is to just have not just a great second or safety duo, but the best secondary in the NFL right away.
That'd be like the craziest non-quarterback trade, and I don't even know how long. But a long time.
I mean, when we go through these positions, isn't it kind of the one that like you're like, oh, okay, this makes more sense than like Russ for Lamar or something like that.
It's like Josie Jewell for a cover linebacker.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But like who?
Yeah, I don't.
Because those are more valuable, so you're just downgrading.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. Yep. I guess Josie Jewell for like Devin Bush.
I mean, they could have signed Devin Bush, cut Josie, and come out with more money.
Yep. All right, let's head over to the website. The Count says the Joker is as unique to hoops as Johnny John was to Pigskin.
Yeah.
Both are/were transcendent players that had no equals or comparisons in terms of play style. Love the Count.
Yeah. No, he's incredible.
He's the incredible thing about the Nuggets game last night. The Joker was very good. I was thrown off by him calling him the Joker. The Joker was very good, but they could have easily won without him too.
Oh yeah,
like I mean that's just how dominant the team was. Is it wasn't one player dragging them.
Yeah, I mean you watch like the first 90 seconds or 2 minutes of the game, and you're just like, oh. Yep. Nuggets are way better.
Yep. 8 points was the spread.
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy.
Come on. Next one and last one from Nash Broncos is maybe a random question, but it's a good off-season topic. Who are the leaders on this team? Justin Simmons is the leader on defense.
On defense, yep. Russell Wilson on offense.
Has to be.
By default.
Yep. It has to be.
Yep. After that, it's open-ended. I think DJ Jones has some clout with, so maybe it's just because that room is so young.
Yeah.
But they all seem to kind of follow him.
Honestly, the front seven outside of Josie and Alex. I mean, the rest of that room group is very young, very inexperienced. So yeah, could be that. Zach Allen, I've heard, is also a very good leader.
Yep.
On the offensive side, you hope that Mike McGlinchey is. Yeah, you're not paying him $18 million a year to not be a leader. Otherwise, it's really up for grabs.
It is.
You know, Cortland is a leader in
he
ways.
Could be unseated.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Jerry could take that over.
Yeah, exactly. That's why no one's on defense is really going to take over Justin Simmons, just because I don't think Pat Surtain is that.
He's 22.
Is that type of vocal leader either. He doesn't. That's not his style, so that's fine. And on offense, no one's going to take over Russ unless Russ is benched.
Yeah. Oof. Let's not go down that path.
Yeah, let's not go down that path. But we are going to go down some fun paths the rest of this week, including, barring any breaking news, tomorrow, trade up, trade down. What's more realistic to happen for the Broncos over these next couple of weeks with the draft coming around? We are going to talk about that tomorrow. Thank you all so much for rolling with us on the DNVR Broncos podcast. Hit us with the thumbs up on your way out. Henry, have a great Monday. You guys as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow.